choice as well is there as whether you want to have 50 minutes on your own or whether you have a co-driver. It helps to bring down the costs, but it reduces your track time. And it's often fascinating to see a car with two drivers and to see whether it is faster in the first stint or the second, depending on who drives, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why the rules give 3 extra seconds of pit stop for those who don't leave the car, because then you are on top of the game, you know the car, so you have a little advantage. Notes from the driver's briefing: race director says he would like to give a start relatively fast, because the more you wait, the more you pack up the cars, and you can create a problem on the first corner. But he would like to have 2 rows, 2 lines quite well in line, let's put it this way. So let's see if the drivers can translate these guidelines, dash orders into reality.
Let's have a quick look at the grid. The front row is Karol Bash lining up alongside Leonardo Puccini. Glenn Van Berlo is on the second row with Noah Watt and Matteo Michelotto and Dan Pell on row 3. The fourth row is Alberto Di Folco lining up alongside the Dutch driver Max Veering. Milos Pavlovic, part of the Lamborghini family for many a year now, lines up on the 5th row with Maxime Houston for company. Then Kevin Rossell and Andrea Kohler come next, ahead of the Hong Kong-based Brit Dan Wells and Ray Calvin alongside him. Bronek Formanek has Raffaele Giannoni alongside. Then you go back to Massimo Celia and Gerhard Batzinger in number 70 on the next row of the grid. Number 63 is long-time Lamborghini racer Laurent Geny, who shares with Cedric Lima, and Pierre Feligioni lines up alongside him. One-time Formula 3000 racer Claudine Gosselin starts number 4, and the British driver J.M. Littman is aboard number 65. Next up, the attempt to run car of Holger Hansen. Hans Fabry is at the wheel of the Imperiale Racing number 88 entry. Then experienced driver Olivier Freimuth and the Sri Lankan Dilantha Malagamua on the penultimate row of the grid rounded out by Luciano Crivitello and the Indian driver Prabhakaran Kumar. That then is the order.
Pretty good, David, for the Italian pronunciation. A little room for improvement, but actually quite good.
I'm trying. Yeah, I try a bit more. So that is how they line up. And as I say, many of those are shared cars. Karol Bash with Andrzej Lewandowski on pole position. And you can anticipate that Karol Bash will do the lion's share of the work. Keep your quicker driver in for as much as possible, of course, to give you that advantage.
Yeah, we have to say the lineup of drivers this year is a very, very high quality. Really, we were talking to the juniors, and this year the one who shines is really shining very highly. Yeah. So that's good. That's very good.
Now they get themselves in that Noah's Ark 2x2 formation, ready for the start. Just going back to what Emanuele was saying about the race director's instructions for certainly Monza, the race director is Alain Ardon, who is the regular GT World Challenge Europe race director. Daniele Galbiati, Super Trofeo's regular race director, suffering poor health at the moment, and we wish him well and look forward to seeing him back in the Super Trofeo.
From my side as well, So,
Daniele, our thoughts are with you, and it'll be good to see you back. Right, we're set to go racing. What a sight, Emanuele, coming into the Parabolica.
They appear to be quite disciplined, but he said no stop and go and no like elastic, which somebody was doing, but more to warm up the tires and actually to build a gap. So it looks quite good. Actually, it looks very good.
Indeed, indeed. So the white car on pole position is that of Karol Bash. The multicolored car from the Oregon team, their familiar colors, Leonardo Puccini on the outside of the front row, the Dutch driver Glenn Van Berlo on the inside of row 2.
I expect the start right now.
Indeed.
Well, not really.
Well, the start is at the end of the pit straight. You've got the finish line out of the Parabolica. The start is further down the pit straight.
Yeah, but the start is with the lights, which is actually late. I have to say, this is not what has been said, and there are some issues, especially people going beyond the line. Fingers crossed.
Indeed so. Well, out of all of that, Karol Bash takes the lead. Now there is this sharp intake of breath. Is everyone getting it through safely? No, because there's contact there in the middle of the pack as I think Dan Pell got involved, number 33, tapping the tail of a car in front. They wriggle their way out of the Rettifilo for the first time. So Karol Bash leads the way. Out wide there goes number 2, which is the shared car of Sebastian Balthazar and Noah Watt. Noah Watt at the wheel, and there, damage already. All of that from the elastic effect going into the first chicane.
Yeah, let's hope the tire is not damaged, otherwise you have to stop and change it and the race is over. But pretty good, considering the difficulties, considering the rust everybody has.
So there in the background, you see others bouncing wide out of the chicane.
There's Euros for this surface, which fits better.
Into the first of the two Lesmo curves. Right,
oh
three wide in the
no,
pack.
this is not so wise.
Oh.
Holy sugar.
They survive, just about, just about. So out of all of that, trying to get away up front is Karol Vach from pole position. And despite everything that's going on, they've all got away with it so far. Having dropped back a place then, Leonardo Pulcini from the front row of the grid. Glenn Van Berlo is a man on a mission as well as they come then through the Variante Ascari for the first time. But Vach in the lead, getting away. And of course, they're trying to push hard here on cold tyres.
Yeah, this is an extra challenge. It looks like sunny, but as you said before, the temperature is rather low on the area of 15, 16 degrees, which is not ideal for the tires in the first lap, but is very ideal in the last laps.
Yeah, indeed so. Preservation and all that. Number 44 goes through then. That is Alberto Di Folco, very experienced Lamborghini racer. So at the end of the opening lap, Karol Vach in the white car leads the way. Glenn Van Berlo is second. In third is Leonardo Pulcini, and Alberto Di Folco, who started seventh, is up into fourth place already as they come into the chicane. But a really good first lap for the Polish driver there, Karol Vach.
Yeah, he was a very good karter, and you know, one more time, once you're good in karting, car racing, it's not that difficult. There's a lot of very good people. Also, I lost him.
Who are you looking for? There is Glenn Van Berlo.
The Dutch driver.
Oops, there's another one rally crossing in the background. Dan Pell is another of the quick Dutch drivers.
Yes. Yeah, he was very fast in qualifying, although he didn't complete the lap. But where does he stand?
He dropped back because he was involved in damage at the start.
Exactly.
He got into the back of Di Folco. It's Di Folco's car that's actually got that rear damage. So he's up into fourth place despite the damage. And 33, yes, Dan Pell is down in 26th place. That's why.
Yeah, because he was asking quite a lot of, in the pit, sad. But he was very interested in you know, how to do the start and how not to screw up, but it didn't work this time.
Not this time. He has another go tomorrow. Start procedure under investigation. Interesting. And Alberto Di Folco's car then. There it is, the red car, fourth place. But you can see the damage. See that little bit of smoke coming from the back as Mattia Michelotto is behind him.
Sometimes if the rubbing is not that big, you know, the bodywork wears out, the tire wears out a little bit, and you can survive. So big smoke doesn't always mean big damage.
Sure.
You have to wait a lap or two, and if the smoke reduces, then it's fine.
So nervous times for Di Folco for the moment. And of course, that smoke depends where the load in the car is, doesn't it? On which part of the circuit, where the load goes. There he is, into the first of the chicane. Loreto Filho hanging on to fourth place. Fifth behind him there, you can see, is Michelotto. Now, let's have a replay of the start, Emanuele.
Yeah, I think race director was not happy with the cars being in line.
But a good start by Vach. And then keep an eye on this next shot as they come down to the braking zone, because you'll see up against the pit wall side of the grid, have a look, people go for a bit of real estate, but then Concertina under braking, Dan Pell, bang, into the back of Alberto Di Folco, and others up the escape road even, look.
Yeah, that was a lousy move. Normally, what you tend to do in the first braking is wait until the one in front of you brakes and brake a fraction later, but if the three guys in front of you think the same, then you're in trouble.
And this is how it looked on board then. So you'll see cars fan out all the way across the road, 3, 4 abreast. Of course, this is your golden chance to try and gain track position. So everybody goes for it, down to the chicane. And then suddenly there's just nowhere to go. A wall of Lamborghinis ahead.
It's a trade-off, you know. The Dr. Jekyll inside of you tells you to be careful. The Mr. Hyde tells you to try hard. But this is the beautiful thing of motorsport.
Absolutely. Now, there is a drive-through penalty being given to Bronek Formanek for being outside the track limits at the start. So, penalties coming already. It's all been looked at. Karol Vach, in the meantime, is doing a really good job. Look at this. He's building the gap over Glenn Van Berlo in second place. 3 laps done, and he's already over 3 seconds clear. That's impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. He runs for Sospiri VS Racing, and they are very good. Vincenzo Sospiri was a great racing driver, and now it's a great team principal. and you can see.
Yes, I can remember standing in the wet at Alton Park watching Vincenzo have his first Formula Ford 1600 win a long time ago.
He won the Formula Ford Festival.
He did.
Which is, well, in Italy, sadly, is not a very well-known event. But for those who understand motorsport, is a big achievement.
That's right. He drove for the redoubtable John Village in Formula Ford, and he was a real star in Formula Ford 1600, was Vincenzo. Now, as Emanuele says, concentrating on team ownership, team management. Good battle going on here. Number 7, Kevin Rossell, and on his tail is the recovering Noah Watt, who was up the escape road early on. So number 2, Noah Watt, who's father Jason Watt, former racer, of course, got to Formula 3000, had a nasty motorbike accident, was left paralysed, came back into sports cars with the specially adapted panels, for example. And Noah is taking the fight to Kevin Rossell here. So that's building up nicely for 8th and 9th places. And that is Alberto Di Folco. Yeah. We were hoping the tyre would last, and that's the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to sound pessimistic, but normally the outside of the tire, if you want to damage, you want to damage the one on the inside. But yeah, and I don't think he had anything to do with that. So tough luck.
Indeed. And not only has he had a slow lap into the pits, now there is the pit stop to do this tyre change. It will cost him a lap to the race leader, because while they're doing this pit stop, so Karol Bash goes through. So Alberto Di Folco was 4th. Now he's a lap down.
Yeah, in this situation, you wish for a safety car in the right time, but
there speaks a Le Mans winner, knowing all about long distance racing. Right, there, 41, Glenn Van Berlo. He's in 2nd place then, still pushing, but he's 3.6 seconds back. No surprise, Karol Bash has done the fastest lap of the race. In 3rd place, going through Leonardo Pulcini, and these 3 clear for the moment of the opposition.
There's a little bit of tire management now, because you have to make sure that the tires are in good condition at the end of the race, and a little bit of just mechanical management, you know, pace management. Because if you do a little mistake and you hit a curb, it can be a problem. And this circuit, it appears relatively easy because there are not so many corners and not so many fast corners. But it's a very tricky circuit. Precision is paramount here. Precision of braking, precision of turning in, not kill too much speed in the chicanes. I've never been that good here because I always like fast corners. So it's been a little bit frustrating for me. Lesmo 2 was a beautiful corner. We should ask to your and my friend John Watson, who had a very spectacular crash in 1981. If he's listening, I would like to say hello, because I always listen to your commentary in the GT races.
Thank you.
And but the new Lesmo is a slower corner, but the Parabolica, what we are watching now, is a one of a kind in the world corner, because it's made as a parabolic shape. Although now with the tarmac runoff area, you tend to make it a little bit more round. But basically, the corner opens up. It's not really appreciable in TV, but in reality, the corner opens up. So you pick up speed, and you open the steering wheel, and you're fighting for the grip for a long way until you hit the straight. In normal corners, what happens once you hit the outside, the corner is finished.
Bold effort there by Noah Watt. Late on the brakes, just about gets away with that. That was untidy.
For me, this is really good. Really good. Both were wise and pushing the envelope to the extreme.
Sure.
This is good racing. This is good racing.
Now, the incident on the first lap, Dan Pell into the back of Alberto Di Folco, that is being looked at by the officials. This battle that we are looking at now, Noah Watt up into 8th place at the expense of Kevin Rossell. He shares with Jonathan Cecotto, one of the 2 sons of Johnny Cecotto, Grand Prix driver, touring car racer, of course. And there you can see now Rossell trying to break, sorry, you can see Noah Watt, I should say, trying to break away from Kevin Rossell. The lead gap, Bash to Van Berlo, is still hovering around the 3.5–3.7 second mark, as Noah Watt is a little bit ragged up onto the curb there.
Yeah, Johnny Cecotto, we have had a few sparks together because we raced in the same time in touring cars. And always admired him very, very much. And his son is a very, very good driver and a good guy, and he's a Lamborghini driver. But Jonathan is a very, very good driver. It doesn't appear to be son of Johnny, because Johnny is a very hot temper, and Jonathan is a quiet, nice guy, but no, good blood, good blood.
Yeah, his dad, of course, was a star on two wheels as a motorcycle champion, then into car racing, and of course, for a time, teammate to Ayrton Senna in Tolman before his accident at Brands
He went
Hatch.
straight into Formula 2 from bike racing, which is a remarkable. Then after the accident, he went back to touring car racing, but he was still an excellent driver. We were teammates in BMW. Not best friends at the time because, of course, everybody wanted to win, but good times, Johnny.
The halcyon days of the European and the World Touring Car Championships, the long-distance style of touring car racing. Now, back to this fight going on for second place. Leonardo Pulcini out-qualified Ben Bello, but he hasn't yet been able to get back onto terms to try and make that pass for second place. Is he waiting for the pit stops, I wonder?
Leonardo Pulcini is a single-seater driver who switched to, let's say, close cars. And he doesn't have a lot of experience, so and he's a wise guy. So I don't know whether he's waiting or just driving the best he can. But it's a relatively new environment for him, and I think he's doing really well. Because as we said, and this is not marketing, but the level is really high of the top drivers. So it doesn't come easy, even for somebody who has been a top runner in single seaters, to come here and show them how they should drive.
Yeah, he was in the Italian GT Championship last year, so he has some experience, but that was a different specification of Lamborghini compared to the Super Trofeo car. The guy that will take over, Kevin Gilardoni, second in the championship last season. So he perhaps is the guy that will do what we call in English, the hard yards. He will have the work to do to bring the car into the mix. Now, Karol Bash's car that leads the way is from Pro-Am. So he's the Pro. Andrzej Lewandowski that will take over is the Am. He's a quick driver, but he's not as quick as Karol Bash. So that might bring that leading group closer together after the pit stops.
Yeah, absolutely. Pit stop is quite, I mean, we will talk about it when the time arrives, but it's quite critical to be spot on, because you have enough time for the driver change, but not to lose time with the time slot that you have it's not super easy. So you have to be a little careful, because we would say later on, but if you cut it short within 1 second, then what you cut short is multiplied by 3 as a penalty. If you overshoot it by more than 1 second, so if you are less than a second faster in the whole operation, you are in trouble, because you have to show your car through the pit lane to the whole field at the slow speed.
The walk of shame.
Yes, the walk of shame.
Yes. So the pit stops, and of course there is no escape, because they are timed by the official timekeeping. The time comes up on the timing screen. Everybody can see it and can point if you are under the 90 or 93 seconds. 90 if you are two drivers, 93 if you are on your own, because you have that advantage after the pit stops of knowing what the track is like and what the car is like. That's the reasoning behind that. So there is the race leader, Karol Bash. Interesting that he's not getting away too much. It's a 10th that he has gained over that last lap. So he has an advantage, he has the lead, but it's not too big.
I would imagine that he wants to keep the car in good shape for his teammates, his teammate. And what is the point of building too much of a lead? But still, it's a hell of a lead, and it doesn't come easy to be that quick. So this can be the reason, or the others, they found a little bit more speed, because not to forget, this is the first race of the season, and rust is not applying only to iron, but also to human being.
So the more time they have in the car, the rust comes off, the quicker they go. Now, look at this. This is on board with the second place driver, Glenn Van Berlo. Just talk us around Monza, if anyway.
Yeah, this is really good to have some onboard shots, because unfortunately TV is a wonderful tool, but it doesn't really make you appreciate the speed and the difficulties. Let's see how the car moves a little bit. They look very stable from outside, but every race car from inside is really on the limit and moves around. Then you of course go wide and hit the curb and use the space you have, but then the car gets a bit upset. These cars have a lot of power. We should mention that the performances of this car are in line with the GT3. They are really fast for for a single make championship. So it's not easy, and you, for instance, now we are looking at Ascari corner. Ascari is really a beautiful corner, very, very, very difficult and very easy to get it wrong. And a lot of people cried at the exit of Ascari because you want to turn in and of course apply the throttle as early as you can because there's quite a long straight afterwards. But spinning the car on the inside is quite easy, and it's not a nice story to tell your friends afterwards. So tricky.
Now, good battle going on here. There you have the AKF motorsport car of Oliver Freimuth, and he's going to lose out, is he? Because diving up on the inside goes Massimo Siglia, and he's gone through in the Oregon car.
Very good.
Busy part of the racetrack, this. Everybody trying to attack and trying to defend. Looking forwards, looking in that rear view screen.
But so far, I've only seen wise moves, you know, no crazy moves. And let's see, breaking into... you know, normally when you attack somebody and you are that far off on the inside, let's say the two lines tend to collide.
Yes.
It's, I was expecting, you know, some sparks, but thank God it's okay. It's okay. Now let's see what they do on the braking. The right-hand side of the track is less bumpy, so people tend to drive there regardless. You can see the marks on the left side quite bumpy. He makes it.
That's Holger Harmsen going ahead of Freimuth, and then the next car in the queue, number 4, Claude-Yves Gosselin. Very experienced driver, Claude-Yves, from Formula 3000. He had a spell in FIA GT for Paul Belmondo's Chrysler Viper team. And there he goes through the Curva Grande in 20th place right now, Claude-Yves Gosselin, as we are only 2 minutes and a bit away from the pit window opening. So you can expect the slower drivers to be in first to give the quicker driver the longer time. Vice versa in the case here of Carol Bash, who will carry on for as long as possible, trying to stretch that lead. But actually, it's been reduced a bit from 3.8 down now to 3.6 seconds between the top two. So there is Karol Bash, the Polish driver, across the line. In the background, you see Glenn Van Berlo and Leonardo Pulcini not being able to stay on his tail. Still, that margin is there between those two cars.
He wasn't very happy with the front end of his car. He was complaining a little bit of understeering. So again, as we said, you know, a race distance it's a new experience early in the championship, and you really want to know the car, the track, and how the car balance develops through the race. Superficially, everybody tends to evaluate the drivers and the speed of the cars out of qualifying, but you have to reproduce the same speed for a number of laps, and the result is not always in line with what you see in a single lap.
No, that's true. Well, Pulcini is pressing on, keeping that car in the mix, but if you put the next drivers in, Kevin Gilardoni will take over this car. Ahead of him, Glenn Van Berlo will be replaced by the very rapid Mexican driver, Raul Gutzman, who's thankfully recovered from that rather nasty accident at Spa, but brought out the red flag in the second race before the 24 hours last year and delayed the start of the main race. Raul Gutzman back for another season. They should catch up to Andrzej Lewandowski in the leading car, because he is not as quick a driver. As I say again, he's the AM. So these two, second and third on the road, should become the two cars battling for the race lead after the pit stops. And there you can see drivers getting ready. How difficult is it to do the second stint in a race? Somebody else has started, you're into a car that you just don't know, and you have to go flat out instantly.
I wouldn't say difficult, but it's a different ball game, because making the start, you build up your speed, you warm up the car, you don't jump into an unknown situation. But at least we had in endurance racing, what counts is the last stint, especially if you have a neutralization of the race. Normally, when you have a good feeling with your teammate, with the car and everything, you just go and I don't want to say the car drives by itself, but this is the stage of knowledge you should reach when everything is ideal. But also you have a sense of responsibility, especially both if your teammate has been particularly good or particularly bad that you have to catch up. You have to you feel a sense of responsibility, and if you're lucky enough to build a good bond with your teammate, it's a wonderful way of racing.
Yeah. Yeah, as you evinced for so many years at Le Mans, for example. Into the pits has just come Kevin Russell, number 7. Now, he's in early to give way to Jonathan Cecotto. So Jonathan takes over number 7. It's going to be really interesting now to see where that car is. It's fallen back into 13th as the pit stops now start to cycle through. There's the leader then, Karol Bash. Having said that the gap was coming down, it went up again last time to over 4 seconds, the biggest it has been. Cecotto gets on board number 7. Now, it's up to the 2 drivers to sort out the belts and to plug in the second driver, but it's up to the team to control the time and release the car at the right moment.
Correct, David. The criteria is to have 1 minute of stop, and then the time added the length of the pit lane at the pit speed. So here it just turns out to be 30 seconds, which is a round number, but not always like this. But the car has got 1 minute, and 1 minute it's a long time. Yeah. So you don't have time to smoke a cigarette, which I don't like anyway. But you have enough time to make sure everything is properly made, and even to just get into the concentration for a few seconds before you have to shoot off.
Well, that was very scrappy indeed, because that was the second place man, Glenn Van Berlo, trying to get past Jonathan Cecotto, who just came out of the pits and getting it all wrong under braking for the Rettifilo chicane. So he's been up the escape road. That brings Puccini just a little bit nearer to him. Cecotto is on the circuit then, fresh out of the pits, but you can see the commitment from Jonathan straight away. He is absolutely charging along, and that has now brought Puccini back into the game for second place.
Absolutely, absolutely. You can go straight, but you cannot. You have to make sure you don't gain an advantage. In my world, you should lose because going straight is a mistake, but today's rules, they accept if you don't gain an advantage. And this is why there's this polyester chicane build. Otherwise, it would be difficult to control.
Yeah, slows the cars to go through that zigzag, yeah. So Karol Bash leading the way there. Now look at this car, Jonathan Cecotto. He's a lap down because of the pit stop, but now we'll see what
he's he's a contender, so we can see really how his speed fits into the picture of the leader. Actually, this is a very good indication we can have.
Oof, very wide there was Cecotto out of the Variante Ascari, disappeared, came back into view, but we need to start, not this one because he's out of the pits, but the next lap time will give us an idea as to Jonathan's pace relative to the leading cars. He's joined in a phony second place. He's sort of running second on the track but a lap down.